In this episode of Financial Literacy for Beginners, we're going to talk about how to do what you love for a living. Cue the intro. So I know this is something that is prevalent, and people tend to sometimes not get into the fields or get into the things that they want to ultimately do in life as their sources of income and all of that. So I wanted to talk for a moment about how you can actually achieve that, doing exactly what you love for a living. It can be as an entrepreneur, as your job, or in your career, or whatever. How do we get to the point where we are doing what we love? So one of the first key ingredients in doing what you love is really defining your passions, really taking some time and defining what are the things that you love to do? What are the things that really get you up out of the bed in the morning and really thinking about, your life in a positive way? If you can really define those things really early in your life, the better off you'll be, because then you can shape the way you want to get to being able to do that on a day in and day out basis. I know sometimes people have a hard time, kind of defining their passions because they really haven't done it yet. They haven't really sat down and thought about things that way. But if you just sit down and give yourself a little bit of time to really map out the things that you love to do, and your passions could be anything. It can be things that you've done your whole life that you just find enjoyable, your talents, your skills, or your hobbies, things that you really just like to do regardless of if you're getting paid for them or not. Those are usually the things that are your passions. So really define those, put those down on a piece of paper and begin to see what those things really are. The next thing you want to do is figuring out what industries are catering to those specific passions that you identified. I know this is a step that people kind of overlook because we kind of get into things that we think are going to make money, or we get into careers that just kind of fall in our lap sometimes, or we even go to school for because we feel like it's an industry that's going to be, lucrative for us. But if you really take time to find out what your passions are and then try to understand what industries revolve around those passions or cater to those passions, it goes a long way into shaping how you're going to be able to move into that in the future. So really sitting down and looking at industries from a broad and micro sense to see how those things really feed into your passions really is a positive and beneficial thing to do. It's one of those things where it's the difference between getting into a field that is close to your passion but not really something that is profitable, versus getting into something that is doing exactly what you want to do and it is making sustainable money. Know the money, as I like to say. You have to know the money, know how whatever you're going into makes money. That is one key component to, really being able to flourish in whatever you want to do. You got to know how it makes money, and you got to know how to position yourself in making the maximum amount of profit in that particular thing and being able to grow in that, because things change over time, and whatever industries you're in, you want to make sure that you're growing with the profit possibility of that industry and understanding if it changes. Understanding when an industry is dying or when something is shifting in terms of an industry is very important. A lot of people get caught up in situations because they don't pay attention to that. You can see the writing on the wall if you are immersed in how the money is made in any particular industry. You can really see the writing on the wall if something is changing in that, and it will serve you well to be a part of that knowledge and a part of that information. Now, I know money isn't everything when you're dealing with, doing what you want to do, but it does help to get into fields or get into industries and areas that lend well to your passions, but also yield a result in terms of profitability, because that will allow you to do that thing longer. The worst things I've seen, happen is, people go into fields or go into things where, they're really passionate about something, but it doesn't yield the kind of money results that they want. And then they're always having to do other things to supplement that really take away from the things they ultimately want to do. And that's not saying that, you can't make money in one specific area and then just do the things you love on the side or in another vein. I'm not saying that at all, because a lot of people do that successfully. But it does help, especially in the early years when you are building kind of your track record and your resume of things that you're good at. It does help when you are making money at the same things that you are passionate about. It helps because it gives you that sense of fulfillment and accomplishment. and it just allows you to be on fire about the things that you're doing a little bit more, which in turn makes you more successful at them. So definitely looking at the industries that your passions are in on a micro level and really figuring out that balance between, how much money you're making and how much you're able to do the thing you love is a really good thing to consider, because once you get that mixture right, it will lead you to the next thing that you ultimately have to do, which is acquiring the skills to actually do the job or work within that industry. Now, this is a step that you cannot skip, and a lot of people try to get around this, but this is a very important step. This is why people, spend time in school. This is why people spend, hours and hours or years learning specific things, because what you're doing is you're acquiring the skills that are going to make you successful in whatever industry that you're going in. And you can't get around that. Now, yes, you can be a person that hires other people to do things, but that in itself is actually a skill set. A lot of people think about, wanting to be the boss and wanting to be in charge of, a company or whatever, and wanting to, be an entrepreneur and just, put other people to work, which is a good thing. You can definitely build wealth that way, but you also have to understand the skill sets involved with convincing people to do those things and, being able to be a leader in that way. So that is a skill. So whatever it is, whatever you're seeking to accomplish, whatever you're seeking to go into that you love, definitely acquire the skills to be good at that, because that's going to go a long way to getting you there and getting you in front of that situation and getting you to the point where you can make that decision to, one, go into that industry with confidence and exceed at that industry, and be able to flourish in it, over time, because skill sets build upon skill sets. The more skill sets that you acquire for something and, really take that seriously, you're just building upon that knowledge as you're working in that particular thing. And the last but not least component of this is really building relationships and understanding the community and culture that you're going into in terms of what you ultimately want to do and the thing you love. There's nothing like having, advocates and a community of people that believe in you in whatever field that you're going into. So building relationships in that particular culture, in that industry, whatever it is that you ultimately want to do, building those relationships and building your rapport with that community is one of the key things that will lead you to success in that. So putting all these things together, defining your passions, figuring out what industries cater to your passions, acquiring the skill sets within those passions that really will make you successful in those industries, and then just building yourself in that community, making sure that you are a leader in that community and a leader in what you do in that community is key to your success. I hope this will ultimately lead you to doing what you love, and I hope this has been extremely helpful for someone. And until we talk again, I wish you health, wealth, and freedom.